And this is the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashan Silva. On this week's episode, it's all about Veronica Swift, her biography and best hits. Born in Charlottesville, Virginia in 1994, Veronica Swift was raised in a serious jazz household. Her father, the late great pianist Hod O'Brien. At just 9 years old, she recorded her debut album Veronica's House of Jazz, and by 13, she was already on her second album. By the time most of us were figuring out algebra, she was performing at Dizzy's Club Coca-Cola and sharing studio space with saxophonists like Harry Allen. She didn't just stick to standards while earning her jazz voice degree at the University of Miami. She also wrote a goth rock opera called Vera Icon, about a homicidal nun. Veronica's range goes way beyond scatting and swing. After graduating in 2016, she made the big move to New York City, became a Saturday night regular at Birdland, and started rubbing shoulders with the legends Chris Botti, Benny Green, Michael Feinstein, and even Wynton Marsalis at the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra. Her 2019 breakout album Confessions was followed by This Bitter Earth in 2021, where she mingles protest, pain, and beauty like only she can. And 2023, she dropped a bold self-titled album that Billboard called her coming out story. Raw, masterful, unapologetic. The Jazz Times readers crowned her the best new artist and gave her best vocal release for Confessions. Whether she's reimagining bebop classics or performing her own haunting compositions, Veronica Swift isn't just a part of the next generation of jazz, she's leading it. So that was some insight into the biography of Veronica Swift. More details coming up. Also coming up, some trending music news. Stay tuned to the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashan Silva to find out more. We'll be right back after some music. And welcome back to the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashan Silva. On this week's episode, it's all about the life and times and best hits of Veronica Swift. During this hour, we will be talking about her biography. Born in 1994 in Charlottesville, Virginia, Veronica Swift was practically raised on stage. Jazz is in her DNA. Her father, the legendary pianist Hod O'Brien. With that kind of lineage, you just knew she was going to swing. She made her recorded debut at just 9 years old with Veronica's House of Jazz. That album featured her parents and saxophonist Richie Cole. By 11, she was already performing in New York at Dizzy's Club Coca-Cola. And by 13, she dropped her sophomore album, It's Great to Be Alive, featuring saxophonist Harry Allen. In 2015, she caught the world's attention with a second-place finish at the Thelonious Monk Jazz Competition, one of the most prestigious contests in the business. That same year, she released Lonely Woman, backed by none other than pianist Emmett Cohen. She shared the stage with jazz royalty Michael Feinstein, Wynton Marsalis, Benny Green, and the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra. She even headlined the 2016 Telluride Jazz Festival and held down a residency at Birdland. Her Mac Avenue Records debut came in 2019 with Confessions, a gorgeous classic album that brought together Cohen and Benny Green. That release cracked on the top 5 on the Billboard's Jazz Albums charts. And then came This Bitter Earth in 2021. Whether she's scatting like Ella or breaking your heart with a ballad, Veronica Swift brings fire, finesse, and soul to every song. So that was some insight into the biography of Veronica Swift, and you're tuned into the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashan Silva. And this is the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashan Silva. On this week's episode, Veronica Swift, her biography and best hits. Now it's time for some trending music news. If you've ever tapped your foot to a jazz groove, you've probably felt the rhythm of Jimmy Madison. He's been called a superlative drummer by the New Yorker, and for a good reason. Jimmy Madison's sticks have danced behind some of the greatest names in modern music: Quincy Jones, Nina Simone, James Brown, Stan Getz, Chet Baker. The list reads like the liner notes of a Jazz Hall of Fame. And now, at long last, he's telling his story. On September 1st, 2025, Madison releases his much-anticipated autobiography titled Drummer Boy. It's more than just a backstage pass through jazz and funk history. It's a high-altitude adventure, literally. Because when Jimmy wasn't on stage with the greats, he was scaling the world's peaks. From the footlights to the foothills of the Himalayas, Drummer Boy is a one-of-a-kind journey through rhythm, risk, and resilience. Madison says it best himself. It's about my life playing for the greats of jazz and funk, with a little mountaineering on the side. Born in Cincinnati, a professional by 12, he's lived a life in motion, clubs, planes, mountaintops, near misses, and milestones. And yes, there are dozens of never-before-seen historic photos inside the book, all beautifully designed by the award-winning Tom Ventress. You can order Drummer Boy now through your favorite bookseller or at drummerboyjimmymadison.com. So that was some trending music news on the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashan Silva. We're going for a short break. We'll be right back after that. When we come back, we're going to be talking about some of Veronica Swift's best albums of all time. Stay tuned. And welcome back to the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashan Silva. On this week's episode, it's all about the life and times and best hits of Veronica Swift. During this hour, we will be talking about some of her best albums. Here's a quick recap of what's coming up. To start off with, her self-titled album from 2023, this one isn't just bold, it's a manifesto. From her fiery opening, I Am What I Am, to a scattered out take on Closer, she fuses cabaret, rock and bebop like no one else could. And Do Nothing Till You Hear From Me, it's a Linton with Hendrix swagger. She sings a guitar solo that'll melt your headphones. And then there's that wild finale, Queen's The Show Must Go On, mashed with opera classic Vesti la Giuba. It's Mercury meets Caruso in a jazz bolero dream. Rewind to a 2021 triumph, This Bitter Earth. It's cinematic, emotional and raw. From a haunting mashup of Dinah Washington and Max Richter to show tunes sung with urgency and purpose, this is jazz with something to say. And of course, her 2019 debut Confessions showed us her roots, smoky, clever, fearless. With legends like Emmett Cohen and Benny Green behind her, Swift proved she's not just part of jazz's future, she's shaping it. As she says, what if Ella met Hendrix? With Veronica Swift, now we know. So that was some insight into what's coming up during this hour, and you're tuned into the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashan De Silva. We'll be right back after some music, stay tuned. And welcome back to the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashan De Silva. On this week's episode, Veronica Swift, her biography and best hits. During this hour, we're going to be talking about some of her best albums. Let's start off with a self-titled album from 2023, Veronica Swift. This one, a full-throttle declaration of artistic freedom. Right out of the gate, she opens up with I Am What I Am. Part jazz, part cabaret, all swagger. Just her and the drums, and then suddenly, a scat solo that sounds like Fitzgerald whispering it from the clouds. The control, the sass, the joy, pure vocal athleticism. But then she takes a hard left turn. Track 2, Trent Reznor's Closer. 9-inch nails in a jazz context. It's more tongue-in-cheek than shocking. Think Kenton Chen with a scatting thunderstorm dropped in. But the showstopper, the track that really makes your jaw drop every time, Do Nothing Till You Hear From Me. A LinkedIn classic, right? But Veronica doesn't play it safe. She mixes a little Janis, a little Hendrix, and delivers a vocal guitar solo that hits around the 3:16 mark. Side 1 ends with a medley so bold it's operatic. Queen's The Show Must Go On. Fused with Leon Cavallo's Vesti la Giuba, she flips it into a jazz bolero. You can feel Mercury's ghost and Caruso's soul in there, woven into something utterly her own. Now let's rewind a bit. Let's talk about the album that really got onto the map, This Bitter Earth from 2021. This record is lush, theatrical and fearless. The opening mashup of Dinah Washington's This Bitter Earth and Max Richter's On the Nature of Daylight, it's cinematic. Like if Scorsese directed a jazz opera. And Veronica's voice is like singing on the edge of some beautiful cliff. Then come the show tunes, How Lovely to Be a Woman, Getting to Know You, and You've Got to Be Careful Tonight. The last one hits hard, especially how Swift sings it not just beautifully but urgently. She brings the wit too, with tunes like The Sports Page and You're the Dangerous Type, full of sass, swing and scat. But don't sleep on Confessions, her 2019 Mac Avenue debut. This one's got classic Veronica Swift DNA, clever, gutsy, rooted in tradition but totally her own. You're Gonna Hear From Me sets the tone, bold, elegant defiance. She jumps from Billie Holiday ballads to a smoky take on Confessions, The Other Woman. And let's not forget the personal. Emmett Cohen, Russell Hall, Benny Green, Carl Allen. These are giants, and Swift commands a room like she's always belonged with them. So whether you start with the experimental thrill ride of Veronica Swift, the genre-hopping storytelling of This Bitter Earth, or the confident cool of Confessions, you're in for a masterclass in what 21st century jazz vocals can be. And this is the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashan De Silva. On this week's episode, Veronica Swift, her biography and best hits. Now it's time for some trending album news. You know that moment when a record just clicks, like it's been part of your life forever, even though you just heard it? That's the feeling you get with this one. It's time to dive deep into Alice Blue, the new release from Ravita Jazz led by the multi-talented bassist-composer Dr. Phil Ravita. Now Alice Blue, which dropped in May 2025, is already being hailed as one of the most consistently engaging jazz albums of the year. Jonathan Vidran from the JW Vibe calls it one of the best of 2025. Phil Ravita brings his seasoned lyrical bass playing into full color here, and he's joined by a tight mid-Atlantic ensemble. Pianist Greg Small, drummer Nucleo Vega, saxophonist Paul Carr and others. Together, they're not just playing tunes, they're building an emotional journey, one that swings, grooves and breathes. The title track, Alice Blue, is a graceful bossa nova, written during Ravita's university days. And then you've got Broken Heart, a funky-rooted tone poem about fractured beauty. From the Start, featuring velvet vocals, mingles contemporary soul with Brazilian bossa. And Almost Blue, that's Ravita having fun. Pedals, layers, blues with a twist. They even mash up a Led Zeppelin with a jazz standard. The final song, Signal and Noise, reminds us how to sift through chaos and find clarity. Alice Blue is now out on the Ravita music label, streaming everywhere and available for purchase at ravitajazz.hearnow.com. So that was some trending album news on the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashan De Silva. We're going for a short break. We'll be right back after that. When we come back, we're going to be talking about some of Veronica Swift's best singers. Stay tuned.